reported on how the pandemic has disproportionately impacted people of color in this country, especially among Black and Hispanic Americans. But Asian Americans, traditionally considered more economically secure than other minority groups, have taken a huge hit since the pandemic hit America's shores. So ABC's Kyra Phillips set out to examine what's behind the economic fallout for Asian Americans as part of our month-long network-wide series, Turning Point, examining the so-called racial reckoning now sweeping the nation.
Jefferson Lee defines the American dream. The son of Chinese immigrants, his parents worked hard to build this butcher shop in New York City's Chinatown. But now this Coast Guard reservist is coming back home to help the family business survive amid a global pandemic that's been killing Asian American-owned businesses.
We're just scraping by.
Lee's parents speak little English and came to the U.S. solely to provide a better life for their children. But this pandemic has hurt first-generation immigrants and their businesses in ways like never before.
As parents, they always tell us, we're doing it so that you don't have to do it and you can get a better job and you can have a better future.
And while Asian families like the Lees continue to barely hang on, the president continuing to tout positive trends for job numbers.
As you probably see, the numbers are terrific.
But not for many minorities. They remain the hardest hit economically. And for Asian Americans as a whole, their jobless rate has spiked to record levels. It's a drastic change from before the pandemic, when Asian Americans had the lowest unemployment across the board at just 2.5%. Fast forward to now, where Asian American unemployment stands at 10.7%, with only Black Americans at a higher rate. And what critics call racist rhetoric from the White House likely hasn't helped.
Some important developments in our war against the Chinese virus. We continue to make progress in our fight against the China virus.
The backlash over the origin of the coronavirus, making a recovery for Asian-owned businesses like the Lees nearly impossible.
National leadership kept referring to it as the Chinese virus or the China virus or whatnot. And of course, with that kind of name, Chinatown and the people that live and work here do get associated with it.
Now, a new report revealing just how detrimental the rhetoric and lack of recovery has been on the Asian American community.
Our data suggests that Asian Americans are hampered across the entire country, whether it's on the East Coast, the West Coast, the Midwest.
Harrison Lung is one of the authors of that report, a partner at the consulting firm McKinsey that has been researching and analyzing the statistics around the impact of COVID-19 on Asian Americans.
When we looked at the data, there has been outsized impact on this community.
Families like the Lees are just one of nearly 2 million Asian American small businesses across the country that employ more than 3.5 million people, but many of them still struggling to access financial relief.
Our analysis suggests about 75% or 3/4 of these businesses are not eligible due to the lack of relationship with financial services institutions.
On top of that, the language barrier. The Small Business Administration website doesn't have options for Asian languages. And as for the federal government's PPP, or Paycheck Protection Program, its website only has documents in some Asian languages. Bottom line, no communication, no cash. Those struggles not isolated to financial relief.
We have heard that people feel like the Asian American community has largely been ignored in the COVID public health response, specifically that there are not linguistically and culturally appropriate materials or enough ethnic media outreach to really help the community understand what are the prevention measures that need to be taken and what are some of the unique considerations that might be affecting different Asian American communities.
Asian Americans are also overrepresented in jobs considered to be essential, the same job markets hit hardest by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Those in food services industries, restaurants, laundromats, as well as salons. These jobs right now, as you can see within the Chinatown here, has been tremendously impacted.
And that impacts all of us. Asian American businesses represent more than 25% of food and accommodation services, like restaurants and hotels, more than 15% of retail, and nearly 13% of all healthcare businesses.
Many of us are healthcare workers, and what happens is that we're exposed to community-acquired infections, and we bring it home to our families, our very vulnerable family members.
Fear, also a factor for many Asian American businesses. Just ask Irene Sukata Simonian. Her gift shop in Los Angeles, California's Little Tokyo was able to access federal relief, but she was apprehensive about reopening her business so soon.
There were so many unknowns, but the customers were as well. You know, they also are not 100% sure how safe it is to be out and about.
And those who have secured aid say those funds are just barely enough to keep their businesses afloat.
In many cases, they're still losing money, but they're only making the loss smaller by working harder and harder. And that's a hard thing to do, you know, to work hard and you're still losing money.
So what now? Well, for many of these families, they have no choice but to fight to make ends meet. Their legacies and heritage trapped in the brick and mortar of businesses they've built from scratch. And for children of immigrant parents like Jefferson Lee, who refuses to give up on his American dream.
I'm hopeful. You know, I guess I'm the young blood here, so I'm here trying to make it work.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.